لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So inshallah ta'ala, today we will enter into Zakat Tijarah. This is where we stop from our last lesson, and the last thing we spoke about the meaning of rikas, that it is wajib that we pay the zakah for rikas, and the author he mentioned that the condition and it must reach the nisab, whether it is in the form of gold or silver. وَمِن دَفِينِ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ, because it is a treasure that was buried or that was found, and it originates from the pre-Islamic era, Jahiliyyah. So it is compulsory to pay the zakah. And the zakah of rikas, and he mentioned of rikasi al-khumus wala hawla fihi wala fil ma'din. We also spoke about zakatul ma'din. Zakatul ma'din is basically like the mine. So there is no how. The author mentioned for ma'din and rikas, there is no how. So when a person finds any gold or silver, when he reaches the nisab, then he gives out the zakah. Then he gives out the zakah. And the zakah for rikas is al-khumus. Al-khumus meaning 20%. But when it comes to ma'adin, it is the same. It is the same as normal gold or silver, 2.5%. So now when we are going to speak about the next chapter, where the author mentioned faslun fi zakati tijarah. Wa fi tijarati rub'ul ushri wa shurutuha sittatun. So now when we are going to speak about zakatu tijarah. Tijarah is basically any business dealings. So there is zakah that is attached. But of course there are conditions. And here the author mentioned how many conditions are there. There are 6 conditions. Maybe someone can read. Bismillah. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
وفي التجارة ربع العشر وشروطها 6. الأول العروض دون النقد. الثاني نية التجارة.
We can close the fence. Kalau macam, because you sound kind of a bit noisy. If it is not too hot, I think it's okay, right? Just off the fence. Okay, Bismillah.
الأول العروض دون النقد. الثاني نية التجارة. الثالث اقتران النية بالتملك. الرابع أن يكون التملك بمعاوضة. الخامس أن لا ينض ناقصا بنقده في أثناء الحول. السادس أن لا يفسد البنية في أثناء الحول. وواجبها ربع عشر القيمة، ويقوم بجنس رأس المال أو بنقد البلد إن ملكه بعرض، ولا يشترط كونه نصابا إلا في آخر الحول.
So inshallah ta'ala, today we speak about this. The conditions on the obligation of the zakah in your business, zakat tijarah. So number 1, the author mentioned al-awwal al-urud duna naqdi. So point number 1 is that zakat tijarah is when there is goods other than a naqd. Naqd is basically gold and silver, which is used as a form of money. So meaning the author mentioned there is no zakah if the business is based on money. What is any business based on money? For example, money changer. There is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that there is no any zakah on the money changers. But of course, today any situation is a bit different. But basically, when a person is trading with a currency, so there is no zakah of tijarah. Why? Why there is no zakah of tijarah? Just imagine today you are money changer. So you have in your possession all these different currencies. So for money changers, we don't speak about zakat of tijarah. Because why? Because he is dealing with money. The money itself has zakah in itself. Money itself has zakah in itself. So if a person deal with money and making transactions with money, buying and selling money, the zakah is in that money. So there is no zakah for the business. But if a person is trading with goods, now we look at a different situation. For example, if a person is selling clothes, now situation is different. There is money and there is also goods. There is money and there is goods. So when a person wants to open up a business, he will have some capital and he will buy over some goods. And then he will try to sell those goods. So at the end of the year, how does he calculate the zakah? This is zakat tijarah. Meaning, part of his money will be in a state of cash, and part of it will be in a state of the goods that he has bought. So he has to calculate the value of the goods, and together with the profits and the cost price that he has with him at the end of the house. So once he is able to do that calculation, then he takes 2.5% of the total. So now we say this is zakat tijarah. So whenever a person buy goods, now the haul begins. And there's a difference between zakat tijarah and zakat al-naqd. The haul begins when? The haul begins when he bought the goods with the intention of selling it. Now the haul begins. Now this is different than zakatul naqd. Zakatul naqd, when does the whole begins? The whole begins when the money reaches nisab. But in zakatul tijarah, not necessary. Even if the money does not reach nisab. But when a person buys some goods with the intention of tijarah, then the haul begins. Regardless whether the total amount reaches nisab or does not reaches nisab. At the end of the haul, then we look. At the end of the haul, what happens? The cost price and the profit and the goods that has not been sold. All of this. Does it reach us a nisab or does not reach nisab? This is a question we ask when at the end of the haul. If it reaches the nisab, then there is zakah. If that does not reach the nisab, then there is no zakah. So again, when it comes to money, there is no zakat to tijarah, but there is zakatul mal. When it comes to money. So it doesn't mean money changer doesn't come out zakah. But their zakah is based on the savings and how much money they have. Not based on the transactions that they make. So this is what the author mentioned. He said, Al-arudu duna naqdi. Duna naqdi. Meaning if it is naqd, if it is money, there is no zakat to tijarah. So zakat to tijarah speaks about goods. When you are trading something with goods, you have any goods with you. Then there is zakat tijarah. This is point number one. Condition number one. Number two, niyatu tijarah. You must make the intention of business. You must make the intention. But if you don't make the intention, meaning you are not buying it for business. For example, a person buys cloth. He buys 1 ton of cloth, but not with the intention of doing business. He has the intention of giving up charity. There is no zakah. There is no zakah. But if he makes the intention of tijarah, then the haul begins. When does the haul begins? When a person make the intention and the goods is in his possession. The haul begins. This is condition number 2. Number 3, iqtiranu niyyati bit tamalluki. When he make the intention, he has already have the ownership. So with that ownership and with that intention, now we begins the haul. The haul of zakat tijarah. So there must be intention and there must tamalluk. What is the meaning of tamalluk? Tamalluk any meaning ownership. Meaning you own any that particular thing. You own any that particular thing and you make the intention any of business. Number 4, الرابع أن يكون التملك بمعاوضة. Yani this any ownership any is based any on a transaction. A transaction. Then yani we say that this is any part any of zakat tijarah. But if there is any no transaction, for example, any a person any inherit any wealth any, for example, a person any inherit any wealth, then we say there is no muawada. So in this any situation, it doesn't any becomes any zakat tijarah unless he makes any the intention yani of zakat at tijarah with any the money any that he has. Number 5, an la yanidda naqisan bi naqdihi fi athna'il hawl. So let me give you an example to understand any of these things. So I always only give any simple example where a person any, for example, and he has some money. Let's say and he has 10,000 Singapore dollars. So he has 10,000 Singapore dollars. He buy handphones. At a cost price, any one handphone costs $1,000. So he buys any how many? He buys any 10. Correct, no? So now 10,000 reaches nisab, does not reach nisab. $10,000 any reach nisab. So when any he bought any that handphone, with that money, and with the intention of the zakat tijarah, now there is tamalluk, there is intention, the haul begins. The haul begins. So for example, this happened any in the 1st of Shawwal, then any we count any from 1st any of Shawwal. So what happens any after that? And he tries any to sell the handphone. He tries any to sell the handphone. At the end any of 1 year, meaning next year Shawwal, now when we ask any the question, did he manage any to sell any all of the handphones? The answer is no. He managed any to sell 7, for example. So there is still how many in his possession? 3. So 7 handphones and he sell. How much and he is selling? For example, for every handphone and he makes a profit of $500. So 1,000 is the cost price, 500 is the profit. So if he sells any 7 handphones, so 7,000 and we add how many? 3,500 any profit. So altogether any how much? 10,500. $10,500 at the end any of the house. And then he has 3 more handphones in his possession, correct, no? Then how does he calculate any the zakah? Because now he say there is zakah. Because at the end of the howl, it gives you the nisab. So how we calculate? We calculate the cost price plus the profit plus the remainder. Type the cost price 7,000. Profit how much? 3,500. So profit and cost price and we combine. It becomes 10,500. And then the 3 handphones and how do we calculate? This in Arabic and we call it taqyim. Quyyimat. Say taqyim. We do taqyim. Yani how any we do taqyim? Yani we say these 3 handphones and although it is not been sold, but how much any is it? 3,000. Correct? Not cost price 3,000. So 10,500 we add another 3,000. So how much? 13,500. So the zakah will be 2.5% of 13,500. So now when we take consideration of the cost price, the profit and the what? The balance any of the goods. But this is any in case that at the end any of the haul, there is still any some balance any of the goods. But here the author is saying, what if before the end any of the howl, everything any is sold. Yani, if he has any the 10 handphones any, for example, he make the intention in Shawwal. But before the coming any of Shawwal, all of the handphones any has been sold. All of the handphones any has been sold. And for example, in the month of Rajab, he sold all the 10 handphones. Is there Zakat Tijarah? There is no Zakat Tijarah. This is what I need to author meant. An la yanidda, what do you say? An la yanidda naqisan binaqdihi fi asna'il hawl. The meaning of yanid, meaning the goods, everything now becomes into cash. It comes into cash. So there are a few situations. Situation number one is what I mentioned. Before any the howl, now everything any is sold. Everything any is sold. So when everything any is sold and it becomes cash, correct, no? Yani if one handphone is $1,000, so now when he sell any all the 10 handphones, how much he gets now? Yani 15,000. But now the howl any is still not there. He is still in the month any of Rajab. So now when he has any 15,000. So since any he has not any reached any the howl, now any it depends. If he uses any the money, yani for something else, then any begins any a new howl. Begins any a new howl. Because why? The initial any howl, now any is redundant. Because the intention any of Tijarah, now any has completed. Before it reaches any the howl, it becomes any cash. Clear inshallah? So this is one situation. Another situation any will be that it becomes any cash and the cash any is below any nisab. Then same thing. We say there is no zakah. We say any there is no any zakah. So what happens any when it becomes any cash? Now this is zakatul mal. But when it comes to tijarah, khalas, it's finished. Because any when the goods any becomes cash, now any it becomes a zakatul naqd. Clear inshallah? So the author any mentioned, وَأَنْ لَا يَنِضَّ نَاقِصًا بِنَقْدِهِ فِي أَثْنَاءِ الْحَوْلِ. أثناء الحول meaning he has not any reaches one complete year. He has not any reaches any one complete year, but everything now becomes any cash. Everything becomes any cash. Asadis an la yaqsid al qunyata fi asna' al hawl. So we have another term that is called qunya. Yani qunya meaning a person make the intention of keeping. For example, a person buys 10 handphones to sell, but nobody wants to buy. So in the middle of the hawl, he decided, khalas, I won't want to sell this. I want to keep. This is called qunya. Clear inshallah? So if he makes the intention of qunya in the middle of the hawl, there is no zakat. There is no zakat tijarah. Because now it becomes what? It becomes a possession. It becomes a possession. And if a person buys 20 handphones, is there zakat on handphones? No zakat on handphones. Tamam? But when he makes the intention of tijarah, then the hawl begins. But in the middle of the hawl, if he intend not to continue with the business, then there is no zakah of tijarah. وَوَاجِبُهَا رَبُّ الْعُشْرِ الْقِيمَةِ. So now when the author mentioned the zakah for tijarah is رَبُّ عُشْرِ, yani 2.5%. 2.5% of al-qima. Al-qima even if the goods are there and you have not sold it. And for example, if he bought the 10 handphones and after 1 year he didn't sell even one, is there zakah or no zakah? There is any zakah. But how you count any zakah? You count any zakah based on the qima. What is any qima? Yani now we ask, how much and is this 10 handphones any cost. So it is said at $10,000. So we have to come out 2.5% in 10,000. So we do taqim of the goods that we have, although we have not sell any of it. But since we make the intention of tijarah, there is zakat. وَيُخَوَّمُ بِجِنْسِ رَأْسِ الْمَالِ أَوْ بِنَقْدِ الْبَلَدِ إِنْ مَلَكَهُ بِعَرْضٍ. So when he do taqim, what currency that he uses? What currency? Last time, for example, people use dinar. So when he does the taqim, he does in taqim with the currency of dinar. Like for example, nowadays, if you are in Singapore, if you buy the handphone in Singapore dollars, then when you do taqim, you do taqim based on Singapore dollars, not measured in ringgit. Singapore dollars. So based on the capital that we have initially, that we bought, what is the currency that is used? So this way he mentioned وَيُقَوَّمُ بِجِنْسِ رَأْسِ الْمَالِ أَوْ بِنَقْدِ الْبَلَدِ, or with the currency of the country. What currency is the country using? If you are in Malaysia, for example, then you use the Malaysian ringgit, then and so on and so forth. In malakahu bi'ardin, if he possess if he possess by the goods. If he possess by the goods, then he has to do taqim. Clear, inshallah? What is the meaning of taqim again? Estimation, meaning, now, for example, you have a business and for example, you have a shop selling things. At the end of the year, how much is your shop worth? So you have to do an estimation. How much? So you give your zakah based on the final outcome. So there are certain things that you have sold. There are certain things that you have not sold. So you have to do taqim. وَلَا يُشْتَرَطُ كَوْنُهُ نِصَابًا إِلَّا فِي آخِرِ الْحَوْلِ. This is important. That's what we mentioned. Zakat tijarah. It is not a condition that in the beginning there must be nisab. Not necessary. Even if you start off and you have 3 handphones, for example, $3,000, but you make the intention of zakat, you make the intention in your business, the whole begins. Even though he has not reached a nisab. This is what the author is saying. So it is not any condition that the money must reach nisab. But at the end of the whole, then we take into consideration. At the end of the whole, we ask the situation, the question. Does it reaches the nisab, or it does not reach the nisab? Clear, inshallah? So how many conditions we have? We have 6 conditions. Number 1, that it is goods not money. Number 2, the intention of tijarah. Number 3 is to make the intention with ownership. Once we have the ownership. Number 4, that ownership is by a transaction. Number 5, that it does not becomes any cash in the middle of the howl. Number 6, he does not make the intention of qunya, keeping in the middle of the howl. Then the zakah is 2.5%, as per normal. Now continue.
فصل وتجب زكاة الفطر بشروط إدراك غروب الشمس ليلة العيد.
Now the author speaks about zakatul fitr. The meaning of fitr is breaking of fast, because Eidul Fitri, for example, it is the celebration of the breaking of fast, because we have fast the whole month of Ramadan. Then comes fitr. Fitr and it comes the breaking of fast, no more fasting. So this is the meaning of fitr. So there is zakah on this occasion. Zakatul fitr. So he mentioned zakatul fitr is wajib and with some conditions. Idraku ghurubi shams laylatul Eid. The obligation comes when the setting of the sun of the first day of Eid, first of Shawwal. When the sun set, now zakatul fitr becomes wajib. Continue.
وأن يكون مسلما وأن يكون ما يخرجه فاضلا عن مؤنته ومؤنة من عليه مؤنته ليلة العيد ويومه
وأن يكون مسلما يعني that the condition is that the person is a Muslim. Non-Muslim and he knows zakatul fitrah. Non-Muslim and there is jizya. There is no zakat. Zakat is not compulsory any for non-Muslim. وأن يكون ما يخرجه فاضلا عن دينه ومؤنته. Yani the author and he mentioned that a person has money more than his loan. Yani he has excess money more than his loan. And for example, if a person is borrowed some money and he has any to pay back, but he has excess to pay zakatul fitrah and excess any of the nafaqah of himself and his family. So he mentioned mu'natuhu wa mu'natu man alayhi mu'natuhu laylatul Eid. Yani meaning those who are under him, his wife, his children. So now when we ask the question, how much does a person need on the first day of Eid? How much he needs to buy food, to buy clothes? How much? Yani if we say for example $600 or $700. So now when we ask, you say, does he has any more excess than that amount of money? And if he has any $1,000, then zakatul fitrah becomes wajib, because he has excess. But he say, I only have $300, then zakatul fitrah is not wajib. Yani meaning he does not have enough to buy any food and clothing for his family on the day of Eid. Then there is no zakatul fitrah. But if he has any excess, then it is compulsory for him to pay for himself. And likewise, we take into consideration any of his wife and children, those who are under him. And likewise, any of the parents, any who are old, who is under his care. So he said, وَمُؤْنَةُ عَنْ دَيْنِهِ وَمُؤْنَتِهِ وَمُؤْنَةِ مَنْ عَلَيْهِ مُؤْنَتُهُ لَيْلَةَ الْعِيدِ وَيَوْمِهِ. Yani on the night of Eid and on the day, 24 hours. Yani from the setting of the sun, 1st of Shawwal, until the setting of the sun comes to 2nd of Shawwal, 24 hours. Yani, does he has any enough money? Does he have any enough money? Yani, for himself and for his family? If the answer is yes, is there any excess more than the loan that he has? If he has any loan, that he borrowed any money from someone, then zakatul fitrah becomes compulsory. Continue.
وأن دست ثوب يليق به ومسكن وخادم يحتاج إليه.
Now, all these things the author mentioned, and when comes to clothing, and he has any proper clothing to wear, يليق به. Yani, usually what do people wear on the day of Eid? So if he has any clothing to wear for the day of Eid, and likewise money for his rental, if he rent a house, or to pay for the monthly wage, for the monthly installment. So he has that amount of money. Like nowadays, even in Singapore, when we buy a house, but every month we have to pay the installment. So we minus the money that is needed to pay for the installment, the money that is needed to pay for the bills. Nowadays, we have the bills, the water bills, electric bills, phone bills, all this we have to put aside. And then about clothing, he said clothing to wear for Eid. And then food, the food for Eid. Does he has the money to pay for the food? So like in our situation in Singapore, we can roughly calculate how much installment a person pays for the house. If he's renting, then it's a different amount. How much food does a person need? How much money for the clothing, for example, that is appropriate for Eid. And then the author mentioned, and then also to pay for the servant, if he has a servant. If he's in need of a servant, like he is an old man, he needs someone to take care of him. So how much does he pay this person every month? That also we take into consideration. So let's say if you say he needs $1,000, $1,000. If he has more than that, then there is zakatul fitrah. But if he is less than that, then there is no zakat al-fitrah. So here the author is saying, how do we know that zakatul fitrah is compulsory? Now, continue.
وتجب عمن في نفقته من المسلمين من زوجة وولد ووالد ومملوك.
Now, and then he has also to pay Zakatul Fitrah for those who are under him in nafaqah. Yani who are the people and who he has to provide nafaqah? Zawja, his wife, his children, his parents. Likewise, his slave. Yani wajib and for him and to pay Zakatul Fitrah for them. Continue.
والواجب صاع سليم من العيب من غالب قوت البلد.
Now in the author he mentioned what is the Zakatul Fitrah that is compulsory. It says sa'un. Sa' is arba'atu amdad, 4 mud. Mud and it is about 600 to 700 grams. Min qutil balad. Qutil balad is staple food in your country. Singapore anyway, we pay any by the value of the rice. So how much any is 1 mud? So it's about 2.5 any kilograms. That is any the amount that we have any to pay for Zakatul Fitrah. Sa'un salimun min al-aib. Salim min al-aib, any meaning, yani it is sa', yani the quality any of the rice where there is no aib, no shortcoming. So we take any the middle quality. Any rice, not any the higher any quality, not the lower quality. The obligation any is the middle. It has to be salim any min al-aib, not any rice any that is spoiled. It is not valid any to give any as Zakatul Fitrah. So it must any be rice any that is edible, that is nice. So this one sa' min ghalibi qutil balad. Qutil balad, ghalibi qutil balad, yani the staple food. Yani in Singapore, for example, we eat rice as our staple food. But there is also bread. We also eat bread. But which is the staple food that normally we consume? This is the meaning of ghalib qutil balad. So the answer is rice. Then khalas. Zakatul Fitrah, we have any to pay any by rice. Naam. This is in our mother Imam Shafi'i. Continue.
وإن قدر على بعضه فقد أخرجه وإن قدر على بعضه فقد أخرجه.
Now, meaning, yani, for example, and he says that I am miskin. I do not have any enough money for my in. But there is some excess. Meaning, I cannot pay the whole sa'. But my excess is only half. So do we tell him you don't need to pay? Or we tell him, okay, you pay the excess. The answer is you pay the excess. And he says that I can only pay half sa'. We say you pay half sa'. Because then he said that this is the only excess I have. It's still any compulsory, I need to pay half. It's still any compulsory to pay half. So there is a qaida in fiqh that says al-maysur la yasqutu bil ma'sur. This qaida, meaning what? Another example will be what? For example, if you have half a pail of water, can you do tayammum? A person say, I need 1 pail of water yani for wudu, but I only have half any a pail. And it's not enough for me to take wudu complete. Is it permissible for me to do tayammum? The answer is no. You have any to use the water until finish. But if a person say, I can only wash my face, I only have 1 scoop of water, I can only wash my face, is it compulsory that he wash his face? Or we say that he can straight away tayammum? The answer is he cannot straight away tayammum. He has to wash his face even though with 1 scoop of water, then tayammum. So al-maysur la yasqutu bil ma'sur. Okay? So likewise, if a person say, I have only 2 mod any of rice, this is the excess. We say pay 2 mod of rice. Tamam? Yani because he doesn't have the ability to pay full, we say pay part of it. So here any the author any mention. وَإِنْ قَدَرَ عَلَى بَعْضِهِ فَقَدْ أَخْرَجَهُ. Yani أخرجه, yani he pays it, even though he has part of it. He doesn't have any full. Continue.
ويجوز إخراجها في رمضان ويسن قبل صلاة العيد ويحرم تأخيرها عن يومه.
No, there is no وَيُسَنُّ نَهَارًا. Read again. وَيَجُوزُ
إخراجها في رمضان ويسن قبل صلاة العيد.
عجيب. Okay. وَيَجُوزُ إخراجها في رمضان. Yani jawaz. Yajuz here meaning permissible. That you pay in Ramadan. But the best, and he said, وَقَبْلَ صَلَاةِ الْعِيدِ. The best any time to pay the Zakat al-Fitrah is before we perform the Eid prayer. Before we perform any Eid prayer, we give out any Zakat al-Fitrah. That is the best. But normally people don't do this. Because any people are afraid and he cannot find the miskin. Last time is different. Last time they give out any Zakat al-Fitrah before praying. Before any praying. But nowadays any situation is different. So this is pertaining to the best. قبل صلاة العيد أولى ويحرم تأخيرها عن يومه. يومه goes back to one, Eid al-Fitr, the day of Eid al-Fitr. So once the sun is set and it enters the second of Shawwal, haram. Now it becomes qada. It becomes qada. But as long as the person is still on the first day of Eid al-Fitr, he still can pay Zakat al-Fitrah. The best is before any prayer. The best. But if not, he pays after prayer. But once the sun is set, then it becomes qada. But before that, it's considered to be ada'an. Now, continue.
On the sunnah is on the day itself. Is it? Mughshar Karim says, وَيُسَنُّ إِخْرَاجُ الْفِطْرَةِ نَهَارًا فِي يَوْمِهِ.
No.
On the the night is not the best.
Yeah. قبل صلاة العيد meaning on the day. Yani before we perform the Eid prayer.
After Subuh.
Yeah.
After Fajr.
Yeah. Yani before we perform what do you call it, the Eid prayer. After Fajr, Naharan here. Yani after the time off. After the time of Fajr. That is the best. Continue.
فصل وتجب النية فينوي هذه زكاة مالي ونحو ذلك ويجوز تعجيلها قبل الحول وشرط إجزاء المعجل أن يبغى المالك أهلا للوجوب إلى آخر الحول.
So now the author speaks about how we pay zakah. So you say وَتَجِبُ النِّيَّةِ. Yani there must be intention, otherwise not valid. فَيَنْوِي, he gave an example, هَذِهِ زَكَاةُ مَالِي. Yani for example, once we do our calculation, then we know. Our zakah is $500, for example. So we take the $500, for example, if the money is with us, we make the intention that this money is my zakah. I make the intention of zakah, paying zakah, and this is the money for zakah. Enough. So we already make the intention that we intend this money to be paid for zakah. So what happens after that? We find the asnaf and we give the money to them. So when we give the money to them, there is no need for us to make the intention again, because we already make the intention. So the place of intention is inside our hearts, not our tongues. So if you make the intention in your heart, is enough. And it is not compulsory that you say out the intention when you give to the fakir. What is important is intention in our hearts. So there must be intention. But if a person doesn't make any intention and he gives to the fakir, this is sadaqah. This is not zakat. Because there is no intention. Tamam? So he said, هذه زكاة مالي ونحو ذلك. ونحو ذلك any meaning any intention. For example, and he say, this is any my zakah for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This amount any of money that I have any with me now, I intend any to pay any zakah of my wealth. So anything any of this meaning. What is important any that he make the intention of zakah. He make the intention of zakah. وَيَجُوزُ تَعْجِيلُهَا. The author any mentioned ta'jil and here meaning that you pay the zakah before the end of the haul. Yani for example, if the haul is in Shawwal, a lot of people they will pay in Ramadan. Some people, for example, the haul is in Zulhijjah, but they pay in Ramadan because they want the thawab. In the month of Ramadan, the rewards is multiplied by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is it permissible that the person pays beforehand, before he reaches the haul? It is permissible, but with some conditions. This is what the author mentioned. He said it is permissible to do ta'jil. Ta'jil meaning you pay first, before the end of the haul. وَشَرْطُ إِجْزَاءِ الْمُعَجَّلِ أَنْ يَبْقَى الْمَالِكُ أَهْلًا لِلْوُجُوبِ إِلَى آخِرِ الْحَوْلِ. What is the meaning? Imagine, for example, you give a person fakir. He is a fakir. When do you give him? You give him in Ramadan. But when is the end of your haul? Zulhijjah. You give him any money in Ramadan. But when comes to Shawwal, he became a rich man. He inherited a lot of wealth, for example. So now he's no more fakir. So the zakah that you gave in Ramadan is not counted. It becomes hadiyah. You have to pay your zakah again. Why? Because this person, when he reaches Zulhijjah, he is a rich man. He's no more fakir. So now your zakah is not valid. Unless if he's still a fakir all the way until Zulhijjah. All the way until Zulhijjah. Then your zakah is valid. So this is the condition for ta'jilul zakah. That the people who receive the zakah must be in the state of people who can receive zakah at the end of the haul. So this is the tricky part, because some people we do not know. I've encountered for example, some people, for example, they are fakir in Ramadan, they really got no money. They really got no money. But they say that the money is coming in Shawwal. But now, fakir. But inshallah, Shawwal, I'm selling my house. I used to know someone that she was amidst of selling in a house, but she was very poor. But the house is under her name. So she was asking people for zakah. But after that, when she sold the house, HDB paid her some of money, suddenly becomes rich. $60,000 cash in the bank. So those people who pay zakah to her in Ramadan, if this is ta'jilu zakah, then khalas, you have to pay zakah again. Correct or not? But if our haul is Ramadan, then no problem. If our haul is Ramadan, then the people whom we paid in Shawwal and he becomes rich, still valid, because khalas, our haul is over. But here the author is saying, if the haul comes, and those people that you have paid any zakah before the haul becomes rich, now he doesn't, your zakah is not valid. Now continue. أن يكون
القابض في آخر الحول مستحقا.
مستحقا في آخر الحول, the person is mustahiq, he is able to what you call it, accept the zakah. Continue.
وإذا لم يجزئه استرد إن علم القابض أنها زكاة معجلة.
إذا لم يجزئ يجزئه عفوا وإذا لم يجزئه استغد. What is the meaning of istighadda? And he asked back my money. He said, now you become rich and you give me back. I pay you Ramadan. But now you become rich. My haul and you haven't come yet. So, what do you call it? He asked back. Yani he can and he asked back. Yani if the person who receives and he knows that this is zakah mu'ajjal. Zakah mu'ajjal. So he has any right to ask back. Ask back any for the money. Because why? Because now this person, yani he is not any a person who can receive any zakah anymore. Now, so the condition that is that in alim al-qabidu annaha zakatun mu'ajjala. Yani it is compulsory for the person to return back if initially he knows that this is zakatun mu'ajjal. Yani meaning the person who pays him the zakah inform him beforehand that my hawlani is in Zulhijjah, but I want to pay in Ramadan, then this is zakah mu'ajjala. So by the time in Zulhijjah, if you are still fakir, then this is any zakah for you. But if you become any rich, then remember you have to give it back to me. So now the person and he knows that this is zakah mu'ajjal. So when he becomes any rich, that person and he can ask back. That person and he can ask him back. And if he put any this condition and he inform any beforehand, then he has the right any to ask back. Otherwise, it belongs any to the person any whom he gives. Tamam? So by this we stop here inshallah. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم الحمد لله رب العالمين.